Now, it is something that many women don't talk about, often silenced by shame and embarrassment, but more than half of us suffer with pelvic floor issues, which can cause incontinence. Julie Cholin lives in Market Harborough and has come up with a product designed to help solve the problem and joins me in the studio. Thank you for coming in.
No, thank you very much for having me.
Where did you get this idea from?
So it was in January of last year, and I realised, well, I knew rightly, that the following year I was turning 40, and I'd come across an article that had said, no matter how great you think your pelvic floor is, the chance of having a prolapse or any other issue goes up by 50% because of the onset of perimenopause.
Oh, goodness.
So I thought, right, this is not happening to me because I've done them religiously since I was 14. Then I got another shocking surprise when I started asking other mums about their pelvic floors. Number one, I found 99.9% of mums believed that leakage after childbirth was normal and accepted. They didn't even question it, it was just accepted as being normal. When I mentioned Kegel exercises, they didn't understand what they were. They knew something about it, but hadn't really understood anything about it. So I thought, right, that's it. I need to do something about this. And I went off. I started designing what I would want. So when I was putting it together, it had to be elegant, discreet. And I imagined it sitting on the shelf in John Lewis in the exercise department. So I designed it and I had it made with medically graded silicone. So it's basically like a little weighted tampon. The little weighted balls come in and out on their own. There's no porous areas, so it's completely hygienic and safe. So you just insert it as you would a tampon. But the genius of this is, obviously gravity wants them to drop out, so the correct pelvic floor muscles engage to hold it in.
Okay.
Because a lot of women were telling me, there's no point in me trying these, Julie, because they won't work. I've tried Kegels, it doesn't work. They go away and buy the product, come back and say, wow, I've been doing them wrong the whole time. And then they see improvements, then they become pad-free, they get their confidence back. Because what happens is ladies end up stop playing with their children, they stop going to the gym, they stop running, exercising, they stop having relationships with their partners, their husbands. It really, really affects them psychologically, it really, really does. And it goes a vicious circle of depression. So now a lot of those ladies tell me how they're back doing exercise. So for example, recently I had a lady who was 67 who told me she'd started leaking, and she was told about surgery, and she says, I am not having surgery. She followed the 6-step programme. She rang me up to tell me she was back doing Zumba, leak-free. She was so impressed that she bought a kit for her daughter and a kit for her granddaughter.
Wow.
It's just, yeah,
You're right,
changing
you know,
lives.
because I mean, I often joke now, because I'm north of 40 now as well, and I say I've got to that age where I need to be careful when I sneeze and laugh. And you just kind of accept that that's what's going to happen to you as you get older, don't you?
It's become normalised.
Yeah.
And as women, we hide behind the giggles and the laugh, like, oh, I need a pad. But inside, you're not actually laughing. It's really soul-destroying for women. So what my mission is, I want the education brought into high schools. From the age of 14, girls and boys need to understand exactly what a pelvic floor is. So it's like a trampoline, that's the structure of it. It's a muscle that goes front to back, side to side, and it's a really important job. It has to hold up your bowel, your bladder and your uterus. And if you're not exercising that, what happens is those organs start to fall down and they can actually start to protrude from the vagina, and leakage as well can also happen. But if young girls and boys were taught this in high schools, we wouldn't have now 50% of women suffering with issues. It's all down to education. And then when the women are 18, they invest in this kit because it's maintenance for the pelvic floor. It's like going to the gym. So when I say to the ladies, you follow the 6-step programme, at the end of it, when you've got an amazing pelvic floor, then you reduce to using these 2 or 3 times a week like you would doing your arm exercises going to the gym.
I guess because people don't think of it as a muscle, do they?
They don't understand what it is because nobody's ever taught them.
So let's describe it then. It is, like you say, it's like a weighted tampon.
Yep.
You've got 2 of the balls, although you get different weights as well.
Yep.
And you just insert, and it just grabs hold, is it?
Yeah, so week 1 you start off with the lowest weight combination and you just pop it in as you would a tampon. You do the exercise, so it comes with full instructions. It comes with a very in-depth ebook as well, where I have explained all about the function of the pelvic floor, all about prolapses, etc. And I've taken out all the medical jargon so people can understand better. Then you've got lots of support around it. You've got a closed Facebook group, everything else. So I'm there to support you, because the last thing I want is somebody to buy it and leave it beside the bed because it looks pretty. I want you using it. I want people to see the results. So all you do is just pop it in as you would a tampon. Gravity wants it to drop out, so the correct muscles then engage to hold it in. Then every 2 weeks you change the weight combination so it's getting slightly heavier every couple of weeks. So it's gradual and a safe process.
Okay, and I guess once it's inside, you're doing what we expect to do with pelvic floor exercises anyway, don't you? I always think about it as a lift, you know.
It's a lift and a pull-up, but a lot of women are pulling up their back, pulling in their stomach, pulling everything but the right muscles. So if you imagine, and men need to be doing these exercises as well. There's a lot of men with issues, not as much as women, obviously, but a lot of men, and it's the exact same thing. So if you imagine trying to stop wee and wind at the same time, it's that area. Okay. That is the area where you want to be focusing on. That's the area you want to pull in, hold the contraction for 10 seconds, then release, and do that 10 times.
Okay. And that's not going to take you very long, is it?
No, because what you do is you can do them when you're brushing your teeth. That is it. And it's getting yourself into a daily habit of doing them. And like for myself, I'll do my 5K run when I'm wearing them. I'll do a yoga class when I'm wearing them. And I'll try and get in one other activity during the week wearing them. And it's getting your head around the fact it's a muscle that needs exercised. And then when you're not wearing them, you're brushing your teeth, you're doing them. And that is as simple as that.
What would you say to women listening who are slightly worried about inserting some kind of foreign object?
It is just the same as putting in a tampon. And I can understand, I've had a few people look at it and go, you can't put that in there. Of course you can, ladies, honestly. It just seems a bit daunting because it's new. But all I want women to do is understand the importance of the pelvic floor, why they need to exercise it. Because I do not want to see down in the years to come that we're still sitting at 50% of women suffering. The amount of women having to have surgery. I'm not even going to go into how that can what can go wrong with that. And then there's even studies showing that there's girls in high schools and universities suffering with incontinence issues because they're doing high levels of impact sports. They haven't been told what their pelvic floor is and how to engage it. So the pelvic floor is just like the trampoline. So it's just flapping around, it's getting looser and weaker, and then young girls are having these issues. And of course, they're not talking about it.
I'm sitting here talking to you, clenching, like
good.
there's no tomorrow. Have you managed to get some interest from major retailers yet, or is that the next plan?
That's the next plan. So there's a lot going on at the minute. So I've got my first licensing agreement starting at the end of this month, and it's out in Spain. And it's the world's first only pelvic floor class. So it is, Secret Whispers class. So it's Tally's Pilates with Secret Whispers. And what she's doing is it's a ladies only class where you're encouraged to wear your weights, and the whole session is all around the pelvic floor and doing Kegel exercises. That has got so much support out there at the minute. It's amazing. I'm really, really excited for that one.
Do you know, I think you'll get the support anyway because, you know, you're not scared to talk about it. You're not embarrassed by it in any way. And I think we just need people to go, actually, this is perfectly normal. We need to talk about these things.
Yes, this is it. And then you wouldn't have, if you hear the stories some women tell you, I don't leave the house sometimes. I keep cancelling going out. I don't drink water because I'm afraid of leaking myself. Yeah. Then they make themselves ill. And recently I had a lady who's 32, had a 27-hour labour. This was a few months ago. 27-hour labour.
Yeah. At
the very end of it, the midwife said, don't forget to do your exercises. She said to me, I hadn't got a clue what she was talking about at the time. Then at the check-up a few weeks later, the doctor said, I hope you're doing your exercises.
What exercises?
But you're embarrassed, you feel silly and stupid, so she didn't even ask the question, and she was leaking. Thankfully, her dad knows me and said, you need to go and speak to this lady, have a look at her website. She goes, Julie, this is the first time I ever knew that this was an issue. I would have carried on with my head down, hiding behind the shame, and it would just have got worse.
Yeah. So it's Secret Whispers.
Yeah.
How much are they? How much is a set?
They're $39.99, but I believe at the minute there's an offer on when you go to the website. But yeah, $39.99. They last for life, comes with full lifetime support, everything and anything you need. I am there for you.
Great stuff. So the website again is?
secretwhispers.co.uk.
It's been lovely to meet you, Julie.
You too. Yeah.
Jolie Cholan from Secret Whispers. That is the website. It's 40 quid, but it'll last you for life. And this is something that we don't talk about, isn't it? The fact that so many of us, ladies and gents as well, suffer from this problem of leakage, basically. And it can be so embarrassing that there's something so simple that you can do to help yourself out. So Secret Whispers, look that up and you can buy yourself a set of those balls. And Julie is on her way to the House of Lords tomorrow. She's one of the Small Business 100 that Claire Elsby from the FSB was in. Was it last week? Yes, talking about Small Business Saturday, which of course is this Saturday. She was telling us about Julie and the fact that she's been invited down to the House of Lords. And, she's Market Harborough, so she belongs to us, kind of, if you stretch a point. Really fascinating talking to her. We wish her the very best of luck. I've got a feeling she's going to be very, very busy.